Before you open up that storefront, watch this instead. Hey, I'm Destiny. Welcome back to my channel. My channel is about business, side hustles, and entrepreneurship. So if those topics interest you, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing my experience with you from when I opened up a storefront and my experience from just running an online business, which one I like better. So quick backstory on me. I had a hair extension boutique slash salon that I ran for 3 years. Now I just operate my hair business, Her Destination Hair, online full-time. So I'm going to be telling y'all my experiences and the difference between the two. So the first thing I want to go over is the cost difference. Let's break down some of the costs that are associated with your brick and mortar versus your online store. With your brick and mortar, you're going to have your lease. Your lease can be anywhere from a couple $100s, which I would say mostly what I've seen is $600 and up, all the way to a couple $1,000s depending on where you're located. The next thing, let's talk about your utility. Your gas, water, electricity, if you have internet, cable, different services you're gonna need. Let's say you have cleaning. Let's say if something goes wrong, you need a plumber, you need an electrician. Let's also talk about the insurance. So you're gonna have to insure the building and also the items inside of the building. Another thing, you need to talk about your security equipment. So that's your cameras, the software, to have that set up 24 hours to make sure you're not getting burglarized, you're not getting robbed. It's so much things that goes into having an actual brick and mortar, your employees. So one of the things that a lot of business owners don't take into account when it comes to opening up their brick and mortar, especially if it's a small business, because typically the people on my channel are people who want a hair business, they want to run a hair salon or a boutique. So I'm specifically speaking to those individuals. So when they open up their brick and mortars, they don't think like, okay, who's going to be there all the time? What are going to be my hours? Can I actually afford to hire somebody to be there when I'm not? When you have your brick and mortar, you want to make sure that you can actually be open, because one of the things that I'm seeing now with a lot of brick and mortars, especially the smaller boutiques, is they might be open Monday through Friday from 4 to 7, sometimes on the weekends, or they might make a post and say, hey, we're open this time, something is coming up, and then they're open during that time. And part of that reason is because when they were there full time, like when they first opened up, they noticed that people weren't walking through the door. And that's another key thing that I'm going to talk about, is your location of your brick and mortar. Where are you located? Are you getting foot traffic? So one of the things that I noticed with my brick and mortar store as far as selling hair, so one, we were located next to a hair salon, but we didn't get a lot of foot traffic. One of the key things I noticed is that hair salon focused on natural style. So that was braids, dreads, shampoos, wraps, haircuts for men. So of course it wasn't hair extensions. I didn't get any of the foot traffic from them. And you also want to make sure you have a good relationship with the people next door so they can actually feel comfortable referring people to you. A lot of times with black businesses, especially with hair salons, they see you as competition next door if you open up a salon. So they might not want to send their customers down to you because they think you're going to take their customers. That's another thing to take into account. Is there actually foot traffic in your area? So what I noticed with my brick and mortar is that all of the customers that I got were from people that I gathered online. I'm constantly like running advertisements online, sending people to my website with the option to pick up. Now there were times where I would do some exclusive in-store sales where we would get people to come in, or they will see my ad, well not my ad, where they'll be searching hair extensions in the area on Google and they'll happen to pop in. But most of the time, a lot of people just go to the website. That is one of the key things that I noticed, especially with my brick and mortar. I noticed that I picked a bad location for a hair store, because driving down the street, so it was like our main street where I'm from is called 28th Street. I was on the side over, so if you're driving down 28th Street, if you don't know about us, you won't see us. And most of the times when people see our sign, like it didn't attract them to come in. So I didn't have the proper signage to even get people to want to see what we even had to offer inside. So that was another thing that I noticed with my foot traffic. So if you're a beginner business, these are some of the things you need to take into account. Like, do you actually have the funds to actually have the correct signage out to actually get people in the door? Can you run the proper ads online to get that foot traffic going? But one of the key points that I noticed is that if I'm going to be doing all of this online, I might as well just direct people to my website, because it's a lot easier just to get people to go to my website versus trying to create something that's going to make someone want to see it online. Instead of buying it from my website, they're going to actually hop in their car and drive to my location to purchase. And then one of the things we noticed, especially when the pandemic happened, is everyone resorted back to shopping online. So shopping online became the #1 thing for people to do, because you had to sit at home anyway, and people just got accustomed to it. So during that time, well, before I even say during that time, well, there was a time period in Michigan where all the salons and stores were shut down. So you had to find a way to market online to get people to order from you. Otherwise, you were going out of business. And once I noticed that people would just order online at a faster rate that they would come in the store, like, I started shifting all of my marketing budget, pretty much everything, just to my online efforts so I can increase my online store. And once I noticed that with those efforts, instead of paying for overhead, instead of paying for all those utilities, like, I can take that same budget and put it into my online marketing. Like, my online store was able to blow up to where I didn't even feel the need to have a brick and mortar store. And once I closed down, I honestly felt a sign of relief, like, oh, I don't have this same overhead, I don't have to pay all these extra bills. And then when you're doing it online, like, it becomes so much more easy. You don't have to worry about making sure your store opens up on time, because that's a lot. Like, when you start reading reviews of different places, like, some of the key reviews would be, came to the store wasn't open, that wasn't the case for my store, but I'm saying, like, for other stores. So, but one thing I am gonna say, just to be full transparent, like, there's been times where my store was supposed to be open and it was actually closed. Like, there are some things, like, as a small business owner, you don't have any control over. Well, you do have control over, but sometimes stuff happens, you're not prepared. It is what it is. Lesson learned. Now, moving forward, I'm going to talk about just some of the things that you can test out to see if you're actually ready for a brick and mortar. Now, if you're a brand new business, let's say you sell hair, you offer clothes, you offer lashes, and you're thinking about opening up a storefront, the key thing you want to do is, when you're looking at different locations, actually go to the location. Like, when you drive by, would you stop there to support a random business there? If the answer is no, then that location is not a good location for you. If you can even drive by and picture your sign out there, and you think, like, if I saw this sign, would I stop if I didn't know the business? If the answer is no, then that's not a good location for you. You want to actually put your brick and mortar in a location that's actually going to get foot traffic, because that's going to bring you more customers. Because if your primarily source of advertisement is just online, then you might as well just have an online store. Another thing to test out if you're ready for a brick and mortar is to actually have a pop-up shop. Now, if you have a pop-up shop and you can't even get your customers to come see you in person, what makes you think they're gonna come to your brick and mortar? So that's another thing that you want to test out. Have several pop-up shops to see, one, what type of people can you actually get to come out? Are they your customer base? Are these people from your social media? Are they from your email list? Is it word of mouth? Is it from other vendors at the pop-up shop? You need to be taking into account all of this information, just to make sure if I open up a brick and mortar, I at least know people are actually coming out to purchase my products. Like, pop-up shops are a perfect way to get rid of that guesswork. Because, you know, if you run, let's say you run sponsor ads on your pop-up shop, you do all the marketing on your social media channels, and let's say none of your customers show up, you need to figure out why before you even think about opening up a brick and mortar. And the last thing I want you guys to think about when it comes to opening up a brick and mortar is, think about about your customer experience. Like, so now, like especially with restaurants, we're starting to see is that a lot of restaurants are creating Instagrammable experiences. So if you have a brick and mortar, you need to have something set up in your store that makes people want to take pictures, post it on your social media, just so they can get other people talking about it. So people say, oh, what's that, where's that at, so they can come to and either want to shop with you, take some pictures there, because that's going to be a great way to drive traffic. Because we've been seeing a lot of different selfie bars pop up because they know that people want to take pictures for the internet, and a perfect way to get people out of their homes and into their car into your location is if they can post it on the internet. So you want to take that into account when it comes to creating your customer experience. Give people something to talk about. And what perfect way then to do that than your brick and mortar store. So I hope these tips were helpful for you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the comment section below. If you want to connect with me on my social media channels, it's I am Destiny Adams on pretty much everything. Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, yeah, everything. And don't forget, I have a free Facebook group called the Side Business Hustle where you can drop your advertisements, connect with my other supporters, and yeah, stay tuned for the next video. Peace.